Okay, I think we will begin. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us this afternoon or this evening, whatever the time is in your time zone. My name is Lauren Hughes. You have all received an email from me previous to this webinar, just introducing what the webinar would be about. I may have asked you a few more questions to see how we can tailor the webinar to our audience. And you also will have seen my booking link. So if during this webinar you don't feel like everything is answered, then you can book a personal education consultation with me, which will be half an hour, and we can do a real deep dive needs analysis into you and your family and what you're looking for in your school search. Okay. So thank you for joining again. During this webinar, we will be running through the UAE International School System and what you can expect and how we can support you in navigating that school search. So I'll just introduce myself. My colleagues Bronwyn and Emma are on the call as well. So if you have any questions at any point, you can pop them in the Q&A down at the bottom. If it's specific to you, then they will answer. If it's something that's more generalized and that we feel may be helpful for the rest of the audience, then we will answer it at the end publicly. So I'll just give you a bit of background on myself and what experience we bring to the school search service here at EdSG. So my background is education. It's all I've ever done in my career. I taught for 14 years in the British education system. I taught for 7 years in the UK and then 7 years in a British international school here in the UAE. I also have 3 children of my own, so I've been on your side as parents trying to navigate what is a very complex educational landscape over here in the UAE. And so because of having that experience, I've joined and started doing education consultancy, which I've been doing for a year with EdSG, a company that have placed over 1,000 students across the Emirates in the UAE. So we are very knowledgeable, very experienced about the landscape over here, and we can use that to help you guys. Okay, let's go on to the next slide, please. Please, Rob. Okay, so today's agenda, we are going to do an overview of the UAE educational landscape. We will be comparing curriculums. We will look at the key factors to consider when you're choosing a school. We will go through in a bit more detail the EdSG school search support and what we do to help families during that process. We can talk briefly about preparing your child for the transition and the resources that we have that can support that transition for you. And then, as I said, at the end, we will do a live Q&A session. So feel free to make a note of any questions that you have, and we'll be happy to answer those. Okay, next slide. So the UAE has developed a world-class education system with over 450 international schools, over 20 different curriculars, and educating students from over 100 different nationalities. The diversity and the high standards makes it one of the top destinations for expatriate families looking for quality international schooling. Next slide. So why do families choose the UAE for education? Here are just some of the reasons. Outstanding academic results, a diverse student population, a broad spectrum of curricula for you to choose from, extensive extracurricular activities, including sports, performing arts, and a really rich array of ECAs. Many schools have over 100 different offerings, so everything you can think of. We're at the centre of the map in terms of international travel opportunities, and some schools even offer boarding for your flexibility if that's an option that you'd like to explore. Okay, next slide. So the different types of schools that you can find here in the UAE. So with over 450 international schools, the UAE provides various options to suit different families' needs. Schools here cater for both nationals and international students, so they offer a global perspective whilst also preserving cultural identity. Next slide. So choosing schools here goes beyond the shiny world-class facilities, and here are some of the important factors for you to consider when you begin your school search process. the curriculum options, the language support and bilingual or multilingual programs that might be on offer, extracurricular activities, tuition fees is obviously something that we need to look into, academic outcomes and selectivity and how important that might be to you, student diversity, school locations and proximity to your home or your workplace, and alignment with your family and your family's educational values. Okay, next slide. So when selecting a school, it's important to distinguish between the different curriculums. So there are national curriculums such as the UAE curriculum, French curriculum, Russian systems, and then there's more internationally recognized curriculums such as the International Baccalaureate, the British or the American curriculum. So I think most of you are coming from the UK, and most of our UK families that we work with choose between two popular curricula. So the UK British National Curriculum and then the International Baccalaureate. So let's have a little look and compare the two. So the British curriculum, which many of you are probably very familiar with, follows key stages. So starts with early years foundation stage, moves to key stage 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It culminates at GCSEs in year 10 and year 11, and then finally narrows down at the top to usually 3 subjects, sometimes 4 on the A levels. It's more subject specific and it's knowledge based and largely exam focused. It's structured and it's very traditional in its approach to teaching and learning. And then comparing that with the International Baccalaureate curriculum, which is divided into PYP, primary years program, middle years program, and then it finishes with the IBDP, which is the International Baccalaureate Diploma. So the IB philosophy to teaching and learning emphasizes interdisciplinary, so cross-curricular learning, whereas the UK curriculum, especially in the secondary years, we learn subjects a bit more in silo, so subject specific. The IB curriculum brings them together in project-based learning and does cross-curricular learning, which allows for a bit more depth often and consolidation of learning. They also focus on skills in international baccalaureate schools, so skills rather than knowledge. So the tagline for IB schools is that they teach students how to learn rather than just what to learn. So in comparison to the UK national curriculum, the IB offers a broader subject range. So even when you get to the top years, so year 12 and year 13, or grade 11 and grade 12, if it's a grade system, you still have to do 6 areas of learning. And then on top of that, you do theory of knowledge, creativity, activity, and service. So it stays very broad. Now, for some students, this works perfectly. For other students, particularly students who really are quite focused and they know exactly what they want to do, it really doesn't work for them because they still have to take so many subjects. So for example, we've worked with some families who one sibling, the UK curriculum is definitely better. They might be very science focused, want to study physics at university, so they will naturally take physics, maths, and maybe chemistry. They never want to write an extended piece of writing again. And so the IB would be a nightmare for them. And then we have other students who don't really know what they want to do. They are very well-rounded students and really like all areas of learning, and therefore the IB is a much better choice for them. So during our school search process, we can dive into this with you and we can advise what is right for each of your children. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, language options is something that you may want to consider. So international schools here in the UAE mostly have English as their language of instruction. Some schools do offer bilingual or multilingual options. So usually English with Arabic or English with French, English with Spanish, etc. The most common bilingual options. But mostly in the international setting, the language of instruction is English. Schools also provide English language learning support for non-native English speakers. So if your child doesn't have English as a mother tongue and you feel it's something that they may want to have a bit more support in, then all of the schools will offer that. Also bearing in mind, because of the multicultural international nature of the schools, all of the teachers are trained in a way that delivers to international students. So every practice that we do in the classroom will support all ELL learners, English as an additional learners, as an additional language learners, and learners that have English as their mother tongue. All students in the UAE learn Arabic. It is a mandatory subject, and that subject of Arabic is split into two groups. You have native Arabic learners and non-native Arabic learners. If your children have a passport from a country where Arabic is the first language, they will be native Arabic learners. So they will go in, from the moment they go into that classroom, everything will be in the language of Arabic. If they have a passport that is not from an Arabic speaking country, then they will go into the group, which is non-native Arabic. So they go into the classroom, the language of instruction is still English, and then they are learning their Arabic almost as a modern foreign language. So they're learning through maybe song, vocabulary, but the language of instruction is still English. Okay, next slide, please. Again, touching on extracurricular activities. Now, sometimes this feels like a little bit of an add-on, but what we really strongly advise is that you take this into account. What we want for students when they are coming to a new setting, particularly if they're a little bit older, is for it to be able to echo their passions that they have at home. And so, yes, finding the right school inside and what they facilitate inside the classroom is important, but you really want to still be able to nurture those hobbies and passions that your children have outside as well, so that they can really feel that they are maintaining their identity. So if they are a keen singer and they love performing arts, and you want to make sure that they can really continue with that in their new school. If they're a keen triathlete, you want to make sure that they can compete at a level that is right for them. So yeah, it's something that we will explore together, and we do that during our initial education consultation, where we really get to know your child as a student, and then we can match them with schools that are perfectly aligned with what they are looking for and what will allow them to thrive, not just academically, but really as personal growth perspective as well. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, tuition fees. It's often one of the hot topics in our conversations, understandably. The range of tuition fees varies greatly in the UAE. You can find international schools that start from 20,000 dirhams a year and go all the way up to 200,000 dirhams a year. And factors affecting these fees include curriculum. Some curriculums are just more expensive to deliver than others. Some teachers with certain experience are more expensive to employ. Facilities obviously have an impact on the tuition fees, and the school's reputation. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, student diversity. This may not be something you've considered, but we advise you start to think about it. The UAE is home to some of the most diverse international schools, with students coming from all over the world, ensuring a multicultural learning experience. Now, some families actively seek a more diverse demographic to provide their child with a truly international experience, whilst others feel a larger percentage of students from their home country will make for a softer, more familiar landing for their child. So it's something to consider. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, world-class education. The UAE is home to some of the most prestigious international school groups, delivering world-class education and outstanding academic achievements. These results really reflect the high-quality education available here in the UAE, with top-tier schools consistently producing outstanding academic achievements. That families can be assured that exceptional learning opportunities will be available for their child here, regardless of what curriculum you choose. And it will prepare them not just for their exams or their coursework at the end of the year, but really learning how to learn and be lifelong learners going into the rest of their journey with them. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. So in the UAE, we have an incredible range of international schools, each offering unique curriculums, teaching philosophies, very different learning environments in different schools. And at EdSG, we are lucky enough to work with all of them. As you can see here by some of the logos displayed, We have a comprehensive database that includes all of the international education groups. You may have heard of some of these premium settings like Talim, GEMS Education, Aldar Academies, along with globally recognised names such as Cognita, Nord Anglia, and International Schools Partnership, just to name a few. Okay, next slide, please. So let's begin to explore what your school search process might look like. Here are just some of the questions that might be on your mind right now, and it's completely normal to feel a little overwhelmed by the complexity of the educational landscape over here. But here at EdSG, we are here to help you every step of the way. Next slide, please. So you might choose to begin your school search in relation to your location. So as you can see here, the map of Dubai and the map of Abu Dhabi, the international schools are really spread out across the cities. So you might choose to find your location, your home first, and then choose a school around. Or it might be that you're making the school the priority, in which case we can advise you on residential communities that are nearby to the school. At EdSG, we help families find the best fit school by considering your family values. So we help you to explore your family educational values if it's not something that you've maybe had the conversation about before. So we help to establish whether academic outcomes is something that is a priority of yours, or maybe you're looking for a more holistic approach. We talk about character development. What are the most important values to you and your family? What kind of environment, in terms of a learning environment, are you looking for? Do you want something quite traditional and structured, or are you looking for something a little more inquiry-based, maybe child-led? What kind of extracurricular activities do you want for your child? In terms of sports, do you want it to be really competitive, or are you just looking for development options? What is your view on pastoral care and behaviour, and how would you like that to be seen to be encouraged at your school, at your child's school? Are you looking for a familiar curriculum that echoes what you're finding at home at the moment? Or it might be that this is the perfect opportunity for you to change curriculums entirely and take hold of the opportunity that is here in the UAE, where there are so many different curriculums on offer to you. And again, what kind of demographic are you looking for? And we can talk through all of this with you during your consultation. So this is a roadmap of our school search services. We understand that choosing the right school is a deeply personal decision, and one that must align with your family's educational values, curriculum preference that is right for each individual child. We look at the location needs, the budget, any specific learning requirements that your child might have. Now, that might be special educational needs, and it might just be a little bit of support that your child needs. It may be a provision that's something a bit more of a substantial provision. It might be that your child is gifted and talented in a certain area, and we want to make sure that the school that you are moving your child to can really push your child, challenge them, and ensure that they're thriving to their maximum potential. So at EdSG, we mindfully support families throughout the school search process, ensuring that we find a school that is right for your child. Whether you're looking for a strong IB program, or maybe it's a British curriculum with a nurturing environment, or a school with an exceptional special educational needs department, we can personalise your guidance and make sure that we are finding best fit settings for you. So rather than navigating this journey alone, let us help you to make informed decisions with confidence and with clarity. Our goal is to ensure that every child thrives in an environment that will support them, both academically and in personal growth. So let's have a look at how we tailor our approach to meet your family's needs. We provide a full range of school search services, including, let's have a look at the next slide. So this is the first part of our school search service. It's the education consultation. So in the link to in the email that you received previously, you would have seen a link to book an appointment with me. And this is for the education consultation. So we meet for about half an hour. and we talk you through some of the schools that are on option are on offer for you, and we do a real deep dive into student profile analysis. So we might look through some reports if you want to look through it, and then we have a real understanding of your child as a student, and then we can advise accordingly. Okay, next slide. Okay, so from that initial meeting, we are then really well placed to provide you with personalised recommendations, shortlisting schools that match your priorities and your criteria. Next slide, please. And then we support you in scheduling your school tours. So we organise these with the admissions teams. If you're coming from outside of the UAE and you're visiting the UAE on a pre-move visit, then we will schedule these tours for you so that you can see your shortlist live in action. If in-person tours are not an option for you, maybe you're not visiting the UAE before your final move, then we can arrange virtual meetings with the academic teams, with the admissions teams, and we can share with you pre-recorded virtual tours to help further support your decision making. So now we're just going to show you an example of a virtual tour. Okay, so that was just one example of our extensive library that we have of virtual tours that we can share with you. That school was called, it's called GEMS School of Research and Innovation. I chose that one. Chose a short part of it. It's actually about 7 minutes long, the original version. But I chose this to try and give you an idea of some of the world-class facilities over here. For some of you, that will really resonate with you and you may be able to imagine your child thriving there. For others of you, you may be looking for more outside, more green space. Maybe technology and innovation isn't top on your priority, and maybe theatre and performing arts or sports are more priorities, top priorities of yours. So it definitely helps, I think, having the virtual tours, particularly if you're not able to visit beforehand. So we can share from our extensive library of pre-recorded virtual tours to help support your decision. And then we support you with your application facilitation. We can guide you on how to make the applications. We also share links with you that are associated with this. We work directly with the admissions managers every day. So rather than clicking on the Apply Now button on a website where your application will go into an ocean of applications from all over the world and you may not speak to the same person twice, we can send it directly to the admissions manager. It means that we can expedite the process. We can call and get an updated application status. We can let you know what documentation you're missing, and we can really move things along at a much quicker pace for you. Okay, let's have just a brief chat about the application timeline. Most international schools open their applications in September, October time for the following academic year. The academic year over here runs from August, so very similar to the UK, but slightly earlier. It runs from August, and then we finish in usually the first or second week of July, and then have the long break in the middle in the summer there. So most applications open in September or October for an August start. And then the steps of application are you will research, shortlist, then you submit your application. And then usually, depending on the school's admissions policy, depending on the year group that you're applying to, you will have to do some kind of assessment usually. It might just be a recording of your child. It might be an online Cat 4 assessment. It may be an interview. It really varies from school to school, but we will drip feed you that information as and when you need to know it. And then finally, you secure your seat with a deposit at your chosen school, and then we gently hand you over for onboarding process with the admissions and academics team at your school of choice. Just to kind of a little flag here, the top schools often do fill up quickly, so it's really advisable to start your application 6 to 12 months in advance. That's what we recommend. Okay, additional resources. We have a blog page on our website, on our EdSG website, where we've got a really comprehensive library of blog posts ranging from subjects like curriculum comparisons, school fee structures, cultural and academic adjustments for your family as they're relocating, insider tips, how to emotionally support your child during a time of transition. So please do feel free to go over there and have a look at our blog library. But after we have our consultation, we can then also tailor the blog posts that we share with you and ones that we think will specifically help you and your family during this time of change. Okay. These are some of our reviews, some of our happy families that we've worked with. If you go onto Google reviews, you can see many more. Yeah. And now we can go on to Q&A. Okay. I haven't actually looked at the questions whilst I've been chatting away, but I'm sure Emma and Bronwyn have been answering. Oh, what's our website? I can see that Emma has shared. So our website is www.ed-sg.com. Any other questions from anyone? Please guide about scholarships. Okay, yeah, good, really great question, and one that comes up quite often. Schools will often have a scholarship program, usually academic scholarship, an arts scholarship, sometimes performing arts and then visual arts separated, a sports scholarship, and then something like an all-rounder scholarship. It varies from school to school, and we can certainly support you with that. What we would do is that during our initial consultation, we would get to know your child, obviously their areas of strength, and then we would support your application for those scholarships. You would have to apply, likely prepare videos and have interviews. So we can certainly support you with that. Depending on the school, the scholarship programs range from maybe a 10% discount all the way up to 100% scholarships. What are our fees? We don't charge families. We work with the international schools. So our services to you guys are completely free, which is great for us because it means that we can provide a really non-biased approach to our advice, and it helps you guys. Okay, your daughter's in British curriculum at the moment. How can you decide which route to go to secondary? She's good in all subjects. Yeah, I mean, you can definitely, there's no reason why she couldn't change. We often find, and this is certainly my own personal experience as well, before doing this role, had only ever known British. And in the UK, there are very, very few IB schools. And so it can feel a bit of a scary jump, but I can assure you that the more you learn about it, um, the more you will realize it's as globally recognized as the British system. In terms of shifting over, it's a fairly easy move. The IB in itself is not actually a curriculum, it's more of a philosophy of teaching and learning, and it's always underpinned by a curriculum. So the school can choose that curriculum, they can make it themselves, but it's usually underpinned by UK national curriculum or American curriculum. So the without knowing your daughter and having this kind of deep dive needs analysis, my instinct would be that you would likely explore British curriculum schools and IB schools that are underpinned by a British curriculum so that it echoes the sequence of learning that she's used to. You can start from any time. So if someone's just asked about if you don't join on the first day of term, you don't have to. Then the nature of the environment over here is that it's very transient. You don't have to be there on the first day of term. I've taught in classes where I've had new students every month. And it's wonderful actually, because no one, it's not like in very tiny schools in Europe where everyone turns around when a new child comes into the class. Everyone is used to new children coming in all the time, and they've likely all been new at one point themselves. Someone's asking me to compare American and British curriculum, which is better. Really tricky to say which curriculum is better, and I genuinely do believe that there is a perfect curriculum for every child out there. So without knowing your child and knowing a few more details about them, generally speaking, the British curriculum is known for its academic rigor. It's much more academically demanding than American. American starts very inquiry based and stays quite holistic right the way through. The one thing we do notice is that a jump from British to American is much easier than jumping from hang on, let me get that the right way around. So to go from American to British is much easier. No, to go from British to American is much easier because it's not as academically demanding in the American curriculum. So you need to make a decision in that if you want your child to stay in American curriculum, then go with American. But what we would say is that you don't want your child starting in American and then going to British, because there's likely to be some large gaps in their learning, and they're going to find that quite tricky, particularly older. It's not so relevant in their kind of elementary years, but I would say from grade 4, year 5 onwards, there is a significant jump between American curriculum and the demands of the British curriculum. For university, is there always options to integrate? Someone's asking about universities. We at EdSG deal with the international schools, so I can only really answer questions on the international schools. So children aged 3 to age 18. So I'm not sure on the university course options over here. But if we jump on a call, I can certainly help you. Amina, unsure. Okay, so your child was at Repton until year 6. Oh, sorry, FS at Repton, and then year 1 to year 6 at Muna. Okay, Muna's primary, isn't it? Unsure where to go for year 7. BSAC, yeah, BSAC is the embassy school here in Abu Dhabi, and so usually has a very long waiting list. It's also quite reasonable price point, so it's popular from that aspect too. But let's book a call, Amina, and we can certainly go through the options. I'm very familiar with the big 6 British schools here in Abu Dhabi, so I can certainly talk you through those options. Increasing fees are a challenge. Yes, I hear you on that. Um, what I would say is that school it is mandated by ASEC and KHDA, and it is governed to a point in that they cannot increase their fees unless they can show progress, and that they can't just up their fees for no reason. They really have to document it. Dubai versus Abu Dhabi, very tricky one to answer there. Two different, very different cities. Abu Dhabi is much more laid back, I would say. Dubai is wonderful. It's very vibrant. It's got lots of options for not just education, but there's nothing you can't find in Dubai. I would really consider the traffic in Dubai, and I think that's something that we really need to be mindful of when we're looking at school choices. Sometimes it can look on a map like a school is only 15 kilometers away, but that in reality can be quite a long journey for your child.
There's
Do
a
we meet? Oh, sorry.
I was just going there's a question, do we meet the child to evaluate their potential fit for different schools? So I think in general we meet with families, with parents, more in terms of discussing school options.
Yeah, there's occasions where I have met with students who are older, so particularly if they're looking at A-level options or IBDP, and they're quite strong-willed and want to have a chat, then yeah, more than happy to talk to them as well. But no, we don't personally do the assessment and analysis, although I can certainly support you in guiding your child to get ready for assessments. I think that's one of the big areas of concern sometimes is putting your child forward for an assessment, and we can reassure you and prepare you and support you on all of those areas. What would be the average price for middle years level in an international school? So year 4 to year 8 would be the middle years, and an average, I would say, would sit around, it really depends on the curriculum, but 50 to 75 for kind of very comprehensive facilities, experienced teachers, I think would be an average. Are schools in Dubai better compared to Abu Dhabi? No, it's a question that comes up quite a lot. It's very, very similar. KHDA, which is the government entity that oversees education in Dubai, and ADEC, which is the government entity that oversees education here in Abu Dhabi, are as demanding as each other. So in turn, you see a lot of movement, especially in professionals, moving from Abu Dhabi schools to Dubai schools and vice versa. And the anecdotal feedback, certainly that I've heard, and from being there myself, we go and visit the schools ourselves, so we know them very well. I don't think I don't see a difference actually across the schools in Dubai compared to Abu Dhabi. Okay, I think I've answered them all.
Yeah. I think perhaps if anyone has further questions, you're welcome to. Following today's call, we'll send a video of today's uh, presentation that Lauren made, and we'll also include a link to her booking calendar. So you're welcome to book a consultation with her should you have any specific questions regarding your family.
I've just got one last question that's come up, Ron. Would we have a better chance of getting placement into sought after schools using your consulting services? Short answer is yes. We work with the schools day in, day out. I speak to the admissions managers hourly, actually. We look after the schools by bringing them families, and in return, they look after our families. And so you will get priority placement at many of the schools. And if there's a waiting list scenario, then we can certainly help you to navigate that. And it might be that you're on a different waiting list because you are working with us. Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, thanks for joining, guys. I look forward to helping you and your families to find a school that is right for you.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.